Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. Today we're diving into how digitalization is changing how we think about getting older. And, you sent in this paper,
Yeah.
Fueled by Obsolescence, and wow,
It's a good one.
it's got some really interesting ideas in it. Usually we think about aging as this, slow process.
Yeah.
You get wrinkles and gray hair,
Yeah.
all that.
The classic science.
But this paper is suggesting that we could be considered old a lot sooner than we think.
Uh-huh.
And it's not just about our bodies.
Right. It's really interesting because we always put so much emphasis on what individuals can do to age well,
Yeah.
like staying active and keeping our minds sharp. And there's that model for successful aging
Right.
by Rowe and Kahn.
Yeah, Rowe and Kahn.
But what this paper argues is that maybe we're missing the bigger picture.
Okay, so what's the bigger picture we're missing then?
Well, Rowe and Kahn's model, it is good for encouraging individuals, but it doesn't really consider how society as a whole views different age groups.
That's true. I always thought, if I just keep learning new things, I'll stay relevant. But now I'm thinking maybe it's not that straightforward anymore. Things are changing so fast, especially with technology.
Yeah, that's really important, and it's a key argument in the paper. Our society is so focused on work and productivity,
Right.
and that's having a huge impact on how we see aging. We basically divided life into these strict stages.
I see what you mean.
Childhood is for learning, adulthood's for working, and then old age is for
Retirement.
retirement. Exactly. Once you reach a certain age, society's like, okay, you're not useful anymore.
Right. It's like you get put out to pasture.
Exactly. And this paper's saying that digitalization is speeding up that whole process.
So we're getting pushed aside even faster.
Pretty much. The paper really stresses that digitalization is making skills and knowledge obsolete way faster than before.
Wow.
So even if you're really good at what you do now, there's a chance what, today could be useless tomorrow. It's kind of scary when you think about it.
It is. I know I've definitely felt that anxiety before. How can I keep up with all the new technology?
Yeah.
It's constant.
It's always playing catch up.
And that feeling of falling behind, that's because of what the paper calls digital obsolescence.
Yeah,
And that's really what this whole deep dive is about, right?
exactly. It's like, are we becoming old in the sense of being outdated just because we can't keep up with how fast technology is changing?
So it's not wrinkles or gray hair. It's about being seen as irrelevant in this digital world.
Exactly.
That's deep. And the paper actually talks about two types of obsolescence, right?
Yes, and understanding those types is super important if we want to navigate this whole new way of thinking about aging.
Okay.
They're called substitution and inadaptation.
Okay, so let's start with substitution. Does that mean robots are taking over all the jobs?
Well, it's not quite that dramatic,
Okay.
but you're on the right track. Substitution basically means being replaced by technology.
Oh, I see.
So think algorithms, AI systems, even advanced robots. This tech is getting so advanced, it can do stuff that humans used to do.
So even if you're really good at your job, a machine could just come in and do it better.
And faster and cheaper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's already happening in some industries.
It makes you wonder if any job is safe in the future.
Right.
Okay, well, what about inadaptation then? What's that all about?
Inadaptation is more subtle. It's not necessarily about being replaced by a robot.
Okay.
It's more about not being able to keep up with all the new technology.
Got it.
So you might have great skills and experience, but if you're not constantly learning new tools, you're going to fall behind.
It's like being a dinosaur.
Totally.
You might have been powerful once, but you got to adapt to survive.
Exactly. And what's tricky about this type of obsolescence is that it's not always so obvious.
Right.
You might still have your job, but you're slowly becoming less effective and valuable.
Because you're not keeping up with the new tech.
Yeah.
That's rough. So if these are the two ways we can become old digitally, what can we do to avoid that? Do we just have to learn every new piece of tech that comes out?
That's something a lot of people are trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely explore that more as we dive deeper into this paper.
Okay.
But it's important to remember, obsolescence isn't inevitable. There are things we can do both as individuals and as a society to navigate this digital shift.
So there's hope for us dinosaurs after all.
Absolutely. And understanding these two types of obsolescence is a good first step to figuring out how to not just survive, but actually thrive.
Okay, I like that. Let's dive deeper into this then.
Sounds good. While we're on this topic, it reminds me of something the paper mentioned about this paradox of aging.
Oh, yeah. What was that again? Something about how we're living longer now.
Right. So basically, even though we're biologically younger for longer, thanks to all the advancements in healthcare, society still kind of pushes us aside at a certain age.
Yeah, like we're not as valuable or productive anymore.
Exactly. So it's like we're living longer, but becoming old faster in the eyes of the digital world.
Whoa, that's a total mind trip. It's like our own internal clocks and society's clocks are completely out of sync. The paper says that digitalization is actually making that paradox even worse, right? Like it's not even about our age anymore. It's about if our skills are considered current.
That's the main point, yeah. In a world where tech is constantly changing, the paper is saying that our skills and knowledge can become outdated much faster.
So you can be old, even when you're young.
It's not about wrinkles and gray hair anymore. It's about being able to keep up in this digital world where the rules are always changing. Someone in their 30s or 40s could be seen as old just because their skills aren't up to date.
Wow. It makes you wonder if those traditional life stages like childhood, adulthood, old age even make sense anymore.
Yeah.
What happens if you're like biologically in your prime, but digitally you're a dinosaur?
That's a great question. It really makes you rethink everything we thought we knew about aging.
It really does. And that's what's so cool about this paper. It's not just some boring analysis of digitalization. It's like a wake-up call to rethink how we see aging in this century.
Totally.
Like it makes us ask some tough questions about what it means to be valuable and productive when technology is changing the definition of work itself.
Absolutely. There's a lot to process.
It is. So where do we even start to deal with this? Is it all on individuals to scramble and keep up, or does society have a role to play in changing how we value age and experience?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
While individuals need to put in the effort, I do think we need to change how we view aging and productivity as a whole.
Okay.
The paper talks about this too. Like, we need to stop thinking of age as decline and start recognizing that people of all ages can contribute valuable things.
I like that. Instead of being obsessed with retirement and obsolescence, we should be looking for ways to use the wisdom and experience of older people.
Exactly. Think about all that knowledge and experience that we just toss aside because someone hits a certain age.
Yeah, we're wasting so much potential.
Right. What if we use that resource instead? What if we had a society that valued lifelong learning and collaboration between generations? That's the kind of future we should be aiming for.
I totally agree. And it all starts with changing our mindset. Instead of being scared of becoming obsolete, we need to see this as a chance to keep growing and evolving.
Exactly.
Just like instead of trying to be the latest gadget, we can focus on being the most reliable and adaptable tool in the box.
That's a great analogy. It's not about becoming robots. It's about using our human strengths like creativity and critical thinking to thrive in this digital world.
I love it. So for our listeners out there, what's the takeaway here? We've talked about this paradox of aging in the digital world, but what can people actually do? Should everyone just learn how to code or become a social media expert?
While tech skills are definitely important, I think there's something even deeper we need to consider.
What's that?
The paper really stresses that we need to change how we think about aging itself.
So it's more than just learning a new skill. It's about unlearning these old ideas about getting older.
Yes. Instead of seeing aging as a decline, we need to see it as a chance to keep growing and adapting.
Oh, I'm starting to see what you mean. It's about staying curious and embracing new challenges. Like learning never really ends no matter how old you are.
Exactly. It's about having a love for learning and being willing to try new things. That's what matters, no matter your age or what you do for work.
Yeah, it really is a whole new way of looking at things. Instead of being afraid of becoming obsolete, we can see it as a chance to keep evolving.
Right. And the interesting thing is, like the paper mentioned, this digital push might actually be helping us tap into those human qualities that make us different from machines.
So like what?
Things like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving. Those are skills that algorithms can't really replicate.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe this whole digital revolution, as tough as it is pushing us to become even more human.
Like we have to level up our human skills to stay in the game.
Exactly. It's not about trying to beat the robots at their own game. It's about recognizing and improving those essential human skills that will always be valuable no matter how advanced tech gets.
I'm really glad we did this deep dive. I came in worried about becoming obsolete, but now I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic about the future.
That's great.
Like this paper gave me a whole new roadmap for navigating this digital world.
That's the power of knowledge, right?
Yeah, it helps us reframe our fears and see new possibilities.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up, what would you say is the most important thing for our listeners to remember? If we want to avoid becoming old in this digital age, what should we focus on?
I think the key is that we can't just sit back and let the future happen to us. We need to be proactive in shaping our own destinies.
Yeah, we have to take control.
Exactly.
Right.
And we need to remember that obsolescence, whether it's because of technology or just how society sees us, isn't inevitable.
So it's not about being scared of being replaced, but about rising to the challenge of staying relevant.
Exactly. And remember, relevance isn't just about knowing the latest tech trends.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah. It's about always learning, growing, and adapting to the world around us. It's about making lifelong learning a part of who you are.
So staying relevant is a journey, not a destination.
That's a great way to put it. And it's a journey that we have the power to control. We get to choose how we age, how we adapt, and how we define our own value in this crazy world.
And like you said before, that change in mindset, that willingness to embrace lifelong learning and challenge those old ideas about aging needs to happen not just individually, but as a society too.
Absolutely. We need to be a culture that values experience, wisdom, and all the unique things that people of all ages bring to the table.
A world where age isn't a roadblock, but a badge of honor.
Yeah. A sign of a life well lived and all the knowledge and experience you've gained along the way. That's a world we can all get behind.
Definitely. This deep dive has given us all a lot to think about. So for everyone listening out there, we'll leave you with this. What if staying relevant in the digital age isn't just about learning new skills, but about unlearning old beliefs? What if the real revolution isn't technological, but a revolution in how we see aging itself?
That's a really powerful thought.
Because in the end, the future of aging isn't something that's happening to us, it's something we're building together. So let's build a future where old doesn't mean obsolete, but a life full of learning, growth, and endless possibilities.
I love that. Well, until next time, keep diving deep and keep questioning everything.
And remember, the best is yet to come.